Okay, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Dankert, would you do the roll call, please?
Mayor Steen.
Present.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Present.
Councilmember Baskin.
Present.
Helly.
Present.
Waller.
Present.
King.
Present.
Pashusta.
Present.
Fisher.
Present.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
All right, item number 1, we need a motion for adoption of the agenda, remove 10. So take 10 out, and we need a motion.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
is there a second? Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 2 is a motion approving the minutes from April 20th, 2020. We need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
I don't believe we have anything under recognitions and awards. Craig, were we going to do that proclamation this week?
I don't think we got final word.
Okay, we'll do that next week. Okay, number 4, we need a motion for the consent agenda. We need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin. Councilmember Baskin.
Jason, can you hear us?
Sorry, I was muted. Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor. Thank you. Number 5, under public hearings, is a public hearing on sidewalk improvement on 4th Avenue Northwest, 12th Street to 14th Street Northwest, project 19301. Stephen.
We have proposed this sidewalk to be constructed on the south side of 4th Avenue, adjacent to Westcott Field. This would help create better connectivity for pedestrians around the athletic field complex for different events that may be going on out there, whether it be soccer, football, and everything else that goes on out at the athletic field. We've worked with the school district on this. They have requested a little bit wider sidewalk be constructed there so that it fits their cleaning equipment better. So we are proposing a 8-foot wide sidewalk to be constructed. We've estimated the construction cost for this to be $65,000, and it would be assessed to the adjacent property owner. In this case, it would be assessed to the school district. We would propose that with approvals tonight, we would construct the project and then have an assessment hearing in the fall to assess them based on the actual construction costs as opposed to estimates that are put out there today. So with that, we would recommend approval of this project and open it up to any questions that you might have.
Council, do you have any questions or comments? If not, we need a resolution ordering improvement, approving plans and specifications, ordering advertisement for bids. Need a resolution.
So move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, Tom?
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 5B is a resolution setting the final assessment hearing for October 5th, 2020. We need a resolution.
So move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 6, under petitions and requests, reviewing an ordinance for dental amalgam. Stephen.
Yes, as we discussed at the last meeting, this is an ordinance set in place by the MPCA, required upon us to be the local entity to administer the program. We tailored the ordinance after existing language that was recommended to us by the MPCA. And with the adjustment that we made at the last council meeting, we eliminated specific references to cleaning products under Section 5, Best Management Practices, Item B. Again, we kept the pH range of 6 to 8, letting the dental offices determine whatever products they wanted to use as long as it fit within that range. Since our last meeting, we did forward all of the documents out to the 9 or 10 dental offices that we have in Austin. And with the comments that Dr. Peter Green made at the last meeting, we also have had conversations myself with Dr. Kurt Potash of the Potash and Mitchell Dental Office, as well as Dr. Travis Schmidt of Schmidt Family Dentistry. And during different conversations with them, had questions related to why are we doing this. As we've talked about previously, this is we are the enforcement agent for the MPCA on this. Also, why are we doing this when it has been enacted already by the Minnesota Dental Association? And again, we're just being the monitoring arm at this point for hopefully something that's already being done by all of these agencies. That was some of the questions. Other questions related to that item, those items related to cleaning products and what can be used and will they fit within that pH range. So working closely with Dr. Potash, looking at some of the different products that his office uses, it looks like most of the cleaning products that office uses and which are recommended by other agencies fit within that 6 to 8 pH range. If there are some types of shock or cleaning products that need to be used, there are opportunities for his dental office anyway to capture that and not let it go down the drain if it doesn't fall within that 6 to 8 pH range. So there are other opportunities for dental companies to use other products and just catch that and not discharge it into the drain. So I feel like we've been able to answer most of the questions. Again, I wish there was a different way of doing this besides all these different layers that have come about with the Minnesota Department of Dentistry, also the MPCA, and now the city, 3 different agencies. But hopefully we can streamline this, make it as simple as possible for the 9 or so dental companies that we have here in Austin, and work with them on an as-needed basis to make this ordinance work.
Well, thank you, Stephen. Thanks for working with those people. Council, do we have any questions or comments? If not,
I just want to ask a couple of things.
go ahead, Joyce.
So did you see the letter from Dr. Schmidt then? Okay, so you were able to have a conversation with him regarding a lot of his questions and comments?
Yes, correct. I did reach out to him. We talked about different things and felt like I was able to answer most of his questions. Seemed satisfied with the outcome of that, yes.
Great, thank you.
Right now? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm told we also have a couple of dentists.
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead. We'll get to that.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate Mr. Lang working with our local business owners. That's exactly the way I think the city should be. We should be in conversation. We should be spending our time talking to people, letting them know where these things are coming from, what we can control and what we can't control. So thank you, Mr. Lang, for doing that. That's absolutely lines up with my values, I think our values as the city.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm told we have a couple of dentists on the phone. Would they like to make a comment? Dr. Potash, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Would you like to make a comment?
No, everything I think has been handled well. Everything we've reviewed with Stephen, I think you've covered it well, and I think it's the agreement as stands is something we can operate within, and I don't think there's an issue at all.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Is there another Dennis on the phone?
Dr. Green?
Dr. Green, are we present?
It's right there.
Dr. Green?
Here.
Okay.
I didn't get to see the last version of it as we're sheltering my mom. But anyway, my concern was, I know, Steve, you were nice enough to comment on some of my questions from before the last meeting. When you made the comment about, I asked you if there's going to be any charge for these inspections, and you replied, well, not at this time. So again, that's kind of scary to us about, someone kind of, I guess I think of it like this ordinance a little bit like the city of Austin trying to sterilize, consult Mayo Clinic on how to sterilize their operatory rooms. But I understand the PCA and I understand the risk of amalgam. So I think that the separator, like I said last time, we've already all had them. It's just how the ordinance plays out, so everyone gets their box checked.
All right, well, thank you for your comments, Doctor. Anybody else?
Hey, I have a question, Stephen. If we don't pass this, what happens? Because I know obviously part of the concern is you've got different regulatory agencies. Let's say if we didn't pass it, does it change? What does it change on the ground?
We are a delegated contract authority by the MPCA, and that we meet that criteria because of our flow and strength as discharged at the treatment plant. So many other communities our size and larger fall under the same criteria. And our requirement is to have this ordinance in place by July 14th of 2020. So if we do not pass this, we would likely be susceptible to some fines by the MPCA because we don't have the proper ordinances in place as they have required us to.
And I got one question too, Stephen. I read in the backup material that there has been or is continuing to be some amalgam present in your testing at the wastewater treatment plant. I thought all the dentists thought they were already compliant, but is there amalgam showing up, and can it come from other sources?
So the language that we used was boilerplate language. So some of that wording at the very initial part of the ordinance is just standard language. But the MPCA has been testing, or requires us to test mercury at the wastewater treatment plant from May through September. So we are actively testing it. We would have to go back years back and look at what those tests have shown over the years to determine what sort of numbers we're at with mercury. Currently, right now, we are below our threshold requirement, but mercury is a very difficult item to remove once it gets into the waste stream. So with amalgam separators starting to be talked about back in 2008, I believe, by the Dental Association, we'd have to go back to somewhere prior to that to see if we had any mercury testing then, and compare that to now to see if how the amalgam separators that have been installed over the last 12 years have helped to reduce the amount of mercury, but we just don't have those numbers in front of us today.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Just for a lot of people that aren't in the dental world, there's a big difference between amalgam and mercury, okay? So amalgam, is mercury mixed in with silver, so that's why we call them silver fillings, okay? And the amount of mercury in amalgam is very similar to the amount of the amount of water in cement. We all know in our head, we put a lot of water in that cement, okay? But yet, is it wet? No, it changes to another item called cement. We got the sand and stuff, and then we turn to cement. Amalgam similar in that you do have mercury, which is an issue, and you mix it with silver, but it doesn't end up being half and half. It becomes a third item, just like cement does. Question I have to Steve, and like I said, I failed to see the new policy. Does the new ordinance in that first paragraph say that the utility, or the wastewater treatment plant has done testing? And also my question is like Dr. Schmidt's letter, how do you determine that any mercury that shows up comes from the dental offices? Can it come from other sources? Thank you.
Yes, the language in the ordinance is exactly what you had seen previously, with the exception of striking out those specific cleaning products under the best management practices that we had talked about at a previous meeting with you. So otherwise, everything else in the ordinance is the same as what you have seen previously. Yes, the language still has that boilerplate language at the beginning about mercury testing, and the testing that is currently being done at the treatment plant is citywide. Once it gets to the treatment plant, it's citywide. So we don't have a way, the city of Austin does not have a way of determining where that is coming from. But again, based on the MPCA's studies, their investigations, the MPCA has identified dental offices as a possible source, and that is the trickle down that's requiring this ordinance.
My question is then, the way I read it, or as it originally was, it makes it sound like the waste treatment plant did a test on the Austin people, and that's why the ordinance is there. Could you change the language perhaps to say, in the state, or this is coming down from the MPCA? Because it just kind of has a bad taste, and it doesn't seem truthful to me that any of that was true at the beginning, that it was actually done in Austin. I'm not disagreeing with it. We're all doing the amalgam separator, but that just kind of sheds a bad light on us.
Well, I think we have counsel here, if they would like to make a motion in that regard, they're certainly capable of doing that. Stephen, we could do that, couldn't we? All right.
Yeah.
You want?
Your Honor, if I might. For those on the phone, it's Craig Byram, City Attorney. What's being referred to is some language that's in Section 1 of the proposed ordinance, which is the purpose, which sort of describes why it is that we're doing it. And as I understand it, the objection is that we're doing this because we're being told to do it by the MPCA, not because dental offices are historically bad actors or something. And I don't read Section 1 purpose to suggest that dental offices are bad actors. What it says is that the purpose of this is to control mercury discharges into the city wastewater treatment facilities, that the city of Austin's under regulatory obligation to reduce those emissions, and that the city of Austin has determined that one significant source, which just means a source that if not regulated would produce enough to make us be interested in this. It doesn't mean it's a horrible source. It doesn't mean that it's the only source or primary source. It means that it is a significant source. And so when Mr. Lang says that the MPCA has studied the issue extensively and has determined that one of the ways that mercury makes it into wastewater treatment plants is through dental amalgam, that's a true statement. And it's not a statement that's being made to cast aspersions onto the dental practice or to assign blame. It's just to say we are doing the dental ordinance specifically because it is one significant aspect of maintaining clean water discharge from our systems. Certainly if someone knows that there's another source point for mercury into our wastewater treatment plant, we'd be happy to consider whether an ordinance that would control that one is appropriate, and I'm sure that it would be very easy to convince us that it is. But the MPCA has told us that dental point sources are one point source that we know of, and dental offices have been doing a great job of following their industry standards and controlling that. But now they're asking us, can you put into place a system that actually makes sure that someone is checking to make sure this is happening, so we never have any office in town doing something that all the good offices have been doing for years, going against the trend and not using the equipment and the technology, we would have a way to identify that, we would have a way to notify MPCA and get it done. So, we can quibble about verbiage in the purpose, but the controlling language is the rest of the ordinance and whether or not that's appropriately structured to help.
Yeah, I'm all for the, excuse me, Steve, I'm all for the separators and the language. However, can we just put it in that this came down from the PCA instead of it came out of the sewage treatment plant? Or could we say that these recommendations are what Duluth found and they're putting into Austin? I don't want to belittle the point, but it doesn't seem to be the truth. That I guess I'd like to hear about the studies you've done, Mr. Lang, with your readouts and your chemical studies and your breakdown and the dates. And if you have those, for sure, leave it in there that the Austin dentist, or not the Austin dentist, but the sewage treatment plant has found these mercury rates. Otherwise, please do just put in, due to the PCA and the Minnesota Dental Association working together, we're instituting this from here forward. Just a thought, and I'll be quiet.
And Peter, can I make a comment, please? This is Kurt Potash.
Go ahead, Dr. Potash.
Yeah, just to shed a little bit of light for the council, and Peter and I have discussed this previously, but our offices have had amalgam separators at least 20 years, if not longer. We were well ahead of the mandate from the MDA and the ADA. So the MPCA is kind of late to the party here. I understand that nobody's been checking, and that part's okay. But I think we want to make everyone aware that we've been on top of this issue for decades, literally. And I'll just leave it at that.
All right,
So
thank you, Dr.
looking
Potash.
at where we're at, I would propose an amendment to the ordinance that in section 1 purpose, we strike the final sentence of paragraph 1. So we strike the sentence that says, the city of Austin determined that a significant source of mercury in the Austin wastewater treatment system is amalgam introduced into the wastewater system through various dental practices. I think if we take that out, we're saying exactly what we want to say, and we're not creating, to Dr. Green and Dr. Potash's point, the impression that it is the Austin dental offices that are doing it. So I would make that motion.
So I would ask the two dentists, is that what would that satisfy your needs or what you're looking for? Dr. Potash?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay, Dr. Green?
That's very reasonable, and like Jason just said, the point of the thing is to get separators in place to watch the pH not mess up the sewage treatment plant. And I think that's what would be, we can only deal with now and forward. So that little bit of history that Jason's talking about striking is kind of more the truth, the way I see it.
Okay, there was a motion by Jason. Any more, or is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Joyce, is there, Pachusta, second? Any more discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there a cost? Because it seems to me this would be the third time we've posted the ordinance language. So what is the actual dollars and cents cost of making this change?
Craig?
Thanks for asking the question, Laura. Last meeting when we made a change that was to the substantive portions, I suggested that in probably an overabundance of caution that we notify appropriate dental offices that we were making that change to make sure that wasn't upsetting to anyone. As I indicated earlier, the purpose is not an operative part of the ordinance. It doesn't change how the ordinance functions in any way. So I don't see that there's any need to repost. And the process for posting notice of an ordinance before it's passed is to provide copies to the public and hang it alongside the notices of the meeting. It's not to publish it in the paper where the real cost comes into play. We publish the ordinance after it's passed in the paper. So there isn't a monetary cost But I would not indicate that there's any need to delay tonight's vote based upon this change.
I guess, what do you mean by that? You would want it passed tonight, or just table it and redo it, or can we pass it and change it, or?
Your Honor, if you're going to pass it with just the deletion of that one sentence in the purpose section, I don't see any reason why we would need to delay the votes tonight. You can still go ahead and
So,
take your vote tonight, and if it passes unanimously, then it would pass. If it passes less than unanimously, then we would bring it back to the next meeting under our charter provision that requires that a second vote.
any more discussion before we vote? Mr. Dankert, why don't you give us the what we're voting on?
I have a motion by Councilmember Baskin, seconded by Councilmember Pashusta to approve or to recommend preparation of the ordinance as drafted, with the exception that we will eliminate the first sentence, the last sentence of the first paragraph under section 1 purpose. So we will remove the city of Austin determined that a significant source of mercury in the Austin wastewater treatment system is amalgam introduced into the wastewater system through various dental practices. So that sentence will be removed under this proposed motion.
Let's vote, Tom, go ahead.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
She said aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Okay, so do we need to go through the preparation?
Yes.
Okay, then,
Yes.
we need a motion for preparation of the ordinance.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Tom?
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. We need a ordinance for, adoption of the ordinance. This is an ordinance? We
Move
need,
for adoption and publication of the ordinance.
there you go.
This is for summary publication of the ordinance.
Summary.
Yep.
Motion by Austin.
Second.
Can I say one more thing? Excuse me.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you, Steve, and the council members here for listening and trying to get this a little bit more accurate for everybody. Appreciate it.
We're here to please,
I
Doc.
second it, Peter. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you for your input. We want to get it right. Okay, where are we at, Tom?
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0, Your Honor.
And finally, 7C is a resolution for summary publication of the ordinance.
Just did that. We're on 8.
We're on
We're
8?
on number 7.
7, donation, okay, we need a resolution for donations to the city, self-explanatory, need a resolution.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 8 is a resolution accepting a donation on behalf of the Matchbox Children's Theater. Does anybody need an explanation on that? If not, Tom?
Need a motion or a
Oh,
resolution?
I'm sorry, we need a resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Tom?
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 9 is a resolution approving easement deed restrictions for the Turtle Creek 2 sanitary sewer project. Mr. Lang.
For this project, we worked with 3 property owners for permanent easements, and for the point source implementation grant, we need to ensure to the PFA that their dollars will be utilized and the easements are secure. So attached is a deed restriction for those 3 easements to confirm that we have the easements and that we will not sell them or use them for something other than the sanitary sewer work that is being proposed.
Council, any questions? If not, we need a resolution for number 9.
So move the resolution.
All right,
Second.
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin,
Aye.
Helly,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 11 is a resolution approving an airport funds transfer agreement with the city of Cambridge. Mr. Lang.
In the mid-2000s, we did a extensive expansion of the Austin Municipal Airport, and soon thereafter, the federal government, the FAA, came out with a program to give communities, airports, $150,000 per year for capital improvements toward federal projects. We haven't had any federal projects recently, so we've been able to transfer our funds to other communities that have federal projects, with the goal that as we have federal projects in the future related to taxiways or T-hanger construction, we can then get those funds back in a lump sum to build our projects. So you can see there that in recent years we've been given these dollars away to other communities that need it, and this year Cambridge has been identified as a community that has a project going on that we could transfer our funds to them now so we don't lose them, in return to get those back in the future for a project when we need it. So we would recommend this transfer agreement.
Council, anything? If not, we need a
Steven, did we ever hear
resolution.
back on if they were willing to add a 3rd-round pick in 2022 to the deal?
Yeah, they didn't have any good players, so we'll pass on that.
All right, yeah.
Anybody else? If not, we need a resolution.
So moved.
Who do we got?
Paul Fisher.
Paul Fisher, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin,
Aye.
Helly,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 12 is a resolution approving a labor agreement and memorandum of agreements with IAFF. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Members, before us tonight is an agreement with IAFF, our firefighters. They have met and approved a contract extension for 2020 to 2022. It integrates the BPS plan that council's approved recently, has an MOA for retroactivity pay to July 1st of 2019. Details of the agreement are provided in the memo. The resolution covers exhibits 1A through C for the contract, and MOA for retroactivity is included in the agreement as well. The MOA for placement on and movement through the BPS is also included. We need a motion to authorize the mayor and city recorder to attest the agreement. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Council, anything? Questions, comments? If not, we need a resolution for number 12.
So move the resolution.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Laura and Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin. Councilmember Helly,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 13 is a resolution approving participation in the 2020 Performance Measurement Survey. Craig, is this,
Just happy to answer any questions if you have pretty
any
self-explanatory.
questions by the council? If not, we need a resolution for 13. Okay, we got one by Joyce. Is there a second? Laura,
Second.
second. I saw Laura, did you second it? I saw your thing go on. Doesn't matter. Paul?
Sure.
I don't know who we have.
Whatever.
Sure.
Okay. Any more discussion? If not, Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. And finally, 14 is a series of two motions granting the Planning and Zoning Department authorization to remove junk and/or illegally stored vehicles at A, 1904 22nd Drive Southwest, the Mitchell property. We need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
And 14B, 110 12th Street Northeast, the Patel property. We need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are two citizens addressing the council. I don't know how we could even do that, but I'm going to ask Obala to scratch his head because he hasn't moved one muscle since we started this whole thing. Obala, scratch your head. I think you have a picture in front of your camera. Obala? He does.
What? I have a what?
There he is. He did have a picture. I sniffed that out. All right. Obala.
True detective, hasn't even, nothing gets by you, Your Honor.
That's a pretty good move, Obala. I like that. I'm going to try that next week. But give us a comment how you think things are going.
Oh, well, this is my second meeting again. I think, is this second or third? I think it's second.
That's second. Third.
Yeah, I'm still learning. I've been getting some questions from some of the citizens, especially my classmates. And then the last week, the couple weeks when the city council post about the 4th of July thing. So I got a lot of questions from my class, and then they're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" So, and then I'm like, "Well, we haven't reached there yet because they're thinking ahead of time." So I'm like, whatever question you guys have, I will take it down and then bring it back to the council during my the next meeting. So we have the residents, they're still concerned about postponing the 4th of July and all this stuff. And then I talked to them. I'm like, I've seen through the council, they haven't made any final decision yet, but we're still exploring more. So that's the only thing I give it to them.
I think we might be talking about that a little bit at the work session today. You know, we've had further conversations on that. I don't know if we're going to make a decision tonight or not. Quite possibly we will. But, okay, reports and recommendations. Let's start with, Tom, why don't you go through the roll call?
Councilmember Baskin.
So, two things tonight. One is want to wish a happy 40th birthday to our HRA director, Taggart Ledgarden. So he is one of our avid watchers on public access. So I'm not sure if he's live streaming this or not, but a happy birthday to him. Obviously an incredibly involved community member, does a great job with the HRA. We're very lucky to have him running that key organization in town. The second thing is I have the opportunity tomorrow afternoon to participate in a call with the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. They're going to be talking about the federal response to COVID and its impact specifically on Minnesota cities. So I'll report back with, anything of note that comes out of that call. That's about it.
Thank you, Jason. Tom?
Councilmember Helly.
I just wanted to say that it seems anecdotally and from what I see on social media that a lot of people are hitting a wall with the stay-at-home order. I think having the calendar turn to May and the weather beautiful might have just psychologically made it a little harder to keep adhering to the rules, but I want to encourage Austin to just hang in there, keep going, wear your mask when you go out, and stay the course to keep the COVID-19 crisis under control as it is. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Laura. Tom?
Councilmember Waller.
I've got nothing, thank you.
Councilmember King.
I'd just like to encourage Councilmember Baskin to wear his mask on that phone call. From White House.
Thank you, Steve.
Councilmember Pashusta.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Fisher.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Craig, I don't know if we have reports, but maybe Dave could give us a short update on where we're at as far as numbers for the city. I know council may not be up on that, and I don't know.
We've got-
I can either do it now or it's on the work session.
It's on the work
Okay,
session.
okay, we'll wait for the work session. And Craig, do we have any reports?
I just, real quick one, the legislative session will adjourn May 18th. At least that's when it's scheduled to. The mayor and I have been in contact with Representative Poppy and Senator Sparks on our wastewater treatment plant project. Senator Sparks let us know that he's been in consultation with Senator Pappas as things gear up here. It sounds like from Representative Poppy that we won't see action on any bonding bill probably any sooner than the last 11th hour, again, as seems normal. We got notification that evidently the minority caucus in the House has linked the bonding bill approval, which needs a supermajority, to the governor relinquishing some of his authority under the COVID situation, so that probably increases substantially the chances for a special session. So things are very fluid right now, but we've been in contact with our representatives and everyone we can to advocate for our wastewater project. And otherwise, that's all I have, and I don't know of anybody else that has a report.
Anybody else have anything before we close? If not, we need a motion to adjourn till Monday, May 18th, 2020 at 5:30 PM in the council chamber. Need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Master Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll take like 5 minutes. Anybody want to? Yeah, we'll take 5 minutes.